you, Brutus? Yeah, MAGA Mike Johnson, you just got stabbed in the back by Elon Musk, who you thought was your friend. My friend Elon Musk. Elon Musk isn't returning your phone calls anymore. Elon Musk says that he's going to run primary challenges against any MAGA Republican Congress member who votes for the disastrous budget bill. MAGA Mike Johnson, you said that Elon Musk had the genius algorithms and the AI, and it figured out ways to make this bill so big and beautiful. What happened? He hates the bill, MAGA Mike Johnson.
It was supposed to be his shining moment. Mike Johnson took to the stage ready to cement his MAGA legacy. Instead, his speech crumbled under the weight of errors, awkward pauses, and brutal online memes. Add a public smackdown from Elon Musk, and you've got the political nightmare no one could have scripted. Want to see how it all went downhill? Before we move on, I will like you to subscribe to the channel and like the video. What happens when a moment designed to showcase political brilliance turns into fodder for internet comedy? Enter Mike Johnson. Billed as a rising star in MAGA circles, he stepped up to deliver what many thought would be a defining speech, one to steady his leadership and rally his base. The reality? Well, imagine someone handing you a firework that fizzles out with a sad puff of smoke. That was Johnson's big moment, an uninspired display that critics and even his own supporters couldn't ignore. He kicked things off confidently enough, with a smile that screamed, "Trust me, I know what I'm doing." But the cracks began to show almost immediately. His tone was flat, like he'd been plucked from a high school classroom and forced to read a report he barely skimmed over the night before. Then came the factual misstep.
On Monday, he made this 180. What do you think changed? Why do you think he's coming out against this now? And have you spoken to the president and Elon since the infamous tweet?
I think he understands, and he's acknowledged to me before, that this is so serious that we can't fool around with it. I mean, the debt cliff is approaching very quickly, right? Well, I'll tell you, I called Elon last night and he didn't answer, but I hope to talk to him today. I mean, it's not, it's very friendly, and we've laughed about our differences on policy before. I'm not upset about this.
Claim after claim that sounded polished at first, but quickly unraveled under any level of scrutiny. This wasn't just nitpicky politics. These were errors so glaring it felt like they were begging for fact checkers to step in. The energy in the room dropped faster than a lead balloon. You could almost hear the audience mentally checking out. Even some of Johnson's diehard supporters were shifting uncomfortably in their seats, likely wondering if this was the guy they hitched their conservative wagon to. One observer compared his cadence to a middle school debate team captain trying to sound official, but accidentally delivering a lecture on last year's history textbook. And let's talk about those phrases. Certain lines from the speech seemed tailor-made for mockery, whether it was his painfully forced metaphors or overly dramatic analogies that landed with all the grace of a bad knock-knock joke.
So MAGA Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, he thought he was close to the end zone. He thought he was going to deliver the touchdown for Donald Trump, a disastrous budget bill, which I refer to as the murder bill. Steal food from the mouths of low-income people, get rid of supplemental nutrition assistance programs, buy food stamps, make more people unhoused. You see, for Elon Musk, the problem is because of the increase in the deficit, Elon Musk, I think, actually wants more cruelty in this budget bill.
Take one of his most panned lines, referring to Washington's budget process as a rigged game of Monopoly for lobbyists. It's the kind of soundbite meant to sound edgy, but instead, it came off like your uncle trying to relate to your TikTok feed. Social media didn't let him off easy for that one. Within hours, memes popped up with Johnson's face photoshopped onto Monopoly boards, complete with captions like, "Do not pass MAGA policy, do not collect 2024 votes." It was brutal, and it wasn't just Democrats laughing. Even many on the right shook their heads at what they called amateur hour. Public speaking isn't just about what you say, but how you say it too. Looking back at political history, some of the most iconic careers were built or destroyed based on the way leaders handled themselves on stage. Think of Winston Churchill's wartime speeches, rallying a nation with every decisive word. Mike Johnson isn't exactly Churchill, sweating under the stage lights, stumbling over details, and tossing out canned lines. He showcased why delivery matters just as much as substance, or maybe even more when your substance is, well, questionable. And it only got worse from there. When footage of the speech began circulating online, it wasn't political analysts dissecting every word. It was regular people tearing it apart for comedy gold. TikTok users spliced his awkward pauses with crickets chirping or edited clips to make him look like he was playing a losing role in a sitcom. One comparison floating around likened him to a substitute teacher awkwardly trying to command respect while half the class scrolled through Instagram. Not exactly the legacy he was hoping to craft. Imagine standing in front of your supporters.
All the things that are in this bill are so important for the U.S. economy. It's going to be jet fuel for the U.S. economy. All boats are going to rise. And the sooner we do that, the better. And the risk of not getting it done is enormous. And all the other calamities that we've talked about. So we've got to get it done. And I think Elon understands the weight of that. And I hope he comes around. I'd love to talk to him this week and hope he calls him back today. And then yesterday, 24 hours later, he does a 180 and he comes out and opposes the bill. And it surprised me, frankly. And I don't take it personal. We don't take it personal. Policy differences are not personal.
Ready to unveil your big idea, only to have Elon Musk, the unofficial mascot of free speech on the right, call it reckless, irresponsible, and anti-American. That's exactly what happened to Mike Johnson. With his budget plan rollout meant to prove he could lead without Donald Trump holding his hand, Johnson walked into the spotlight hoping for applause and walked out with a digital slap in the face, courtesy of Musk's Twitter fingers. This was supposed to be Johnson's breakthrough moment. The event had all the MAGA trimmings, towering flags, slightly too shiny banners, and a room packed with supporters wearing their well-worn red hats. The stage was set for grandeur, and Johnson was there to sell his vision of a fiscally conservative, better for everyone future. But somewhere in the sea of awkward clapping and forced oohs from the crowd, the excitement began to drain. Johnson's proposal leaned heavily on cutting programs like Medicaid, sparking questions even before the microphone cooled off. His plan wasn't just a tough sell to moderates. It set the stage for an internal Republican meltdown. Enter Musk. Johnson probably thought he'd scored a silent ally in Elon, the tech mogul who tweets like a teenager with no bedtime and has become a conservative darling in recent years. But Musk wasn't impressed. In what arguably became the most damaging tweet of Johnson's career, Musk didn't just criticize the plan, he obliterated it. Reckless, irresponsible, and anti-American, he wrote, dismantling the proposal in fewer characters than it takes to write your grocery list. The effect was immediate. Supporters shifted uncomfortably in their seats as the tweet made its way across their phones. Any remaining excitement in the room collapsed, as if someone stuck a pin in a balloon. Online, things got even uglier. Musk's tweet wasn't just viral, this was wildfire-level spread. It was screenshotted, retweeted, and memed into oblivion. One meme that took off featured a sinking MAGA ship captioned, "Elon Musk just pulled the plug." Even some pundits aligned with Johnson had trouble spinning the narrative. Conservative influencers known for their loyalty to MAGA leaders went unusually quiet, struggling to defend a plan that apparently even Musk, the electric car guy, found unworkable. For a movement that loves painting billionaires as patriots, Musk's takedown carried serious weight. Why did it sting so much?
MAGA Mike Johnson also says that he speaks to Donald Trump multiple times a day. He used to speak to Elon Musk multiple times a day, and he goes, Donald Trump is not delighted.
I talked to President Trump, all the time, multiple times a day. Obviously, we've talked about this. As you know, he's not delighted that Elon did a 180 on that.
He's not. Donald Trump's been hiding since last Friday, where he went to the U.S. Steel factory in Pittsburgh and lied to the steel workers that Nippon Steel was not acquiring them when they clearly were.
Partly because Musk isn't just anyone with a blue check mark. To many conservatives, he's a symbol of innovation, free market brilliance, and a warrior against woke culture. For someone like Johnson, who desperately needed credibility outside of his usual echo chamber, Musk's disapproval didn't just hurt, it gutted him. This wasn't a disgruntled Democrat disagreeing. This was a conservative role model calling Johnson's big plan a total dumpster fire, and it happened in front of everyone. With supporters losing confidence, Republicans openly arguing, and memes flooding social media, Johnson's reputation as a chaotic leader was hard to argue against. This wasn't the image of a man rallying his party, it was a guy who looked like he needed stabilizers on his political bicycle, And yet, somehow, speeches that bomb and policies that sink aren't the end of Johnson's cringe-worthy moments. He seems to have a talent for finding new ways to trip over his own words, especially when it comes to social issues. Because why stop with Musk when you can alienate even more people? What happens when a politician opens his mouth about social issues and it sounds like he accidentally time traveled from the 1950s? That's the ongoing saga of Mike Johnson, who, if you didn't know better, could probably win awards for outdated thinking. While most politicians at least attempt to wrap their views in polished language, Johnson opts for the blunt approach, and it's not doing him any favors. His views, particularly on LGBTQ+ rights, have landed him in hot water time and again, with critics, commentators, and even people within his own party collectively cringing. One of Johnson's most talked about gaffes came during a TV interview where he tried explaining his concerns about same-sex marriage. Rather than sticking to the usual conservative talking points, Johnson managed to weave in so many outdated stereotypes, it sounded like he was pulling ideas from a 1970s family sitcom. At one point, he referred to traditional marriage as the only safeguard for society, a phrase that critics jumped on faster than a toddler on spilled candy. Social media compared him to a clueless sitcom dad blurting out the kind of comment that would earn a laugh track, if only it weren't real life.
Speaker Mike Johnson and Elon Musk are expected to speak today as the billionaire CEO of Tesla continues to bash the GOP-backed budget bill. The bill would also undo electric vehicle tax credits that benefit Musk's company Tesla. And earlier today, President Trump weighed in on Musk's comments, saying he's disappointed. Last night, Musk urged lawmakers to kill the bill. The former head of the Department of Government Efficiency has blasted the tax cut plan for threatening to grow the federal deficit.
But that's just one instance. Johnson doesn't seem to know how to read the room, whether it's in interviews or prepared speeches. During a rally meant to energize his base, he remarked that traditional American values are under attack by a radical agenda, tying the LGBTQ+ community to his laundry list of national woes. He probably thought he was firing up the crowd, but instead his words backfired. Those comments spread online, fueling hashtags and sparking widespread backlash. One viral meme showed Johnson photoshopped into a black and white 50s PSA with the caption, "Mike, leave it to Beaver Johnson," explaining why progress is scary. Even his fellow conservatives didn't offer much defense. While the MAGA base tends to give a lot of leeway to spicy rhetoric, even some Republicans suggested it might be time for him to zip it. According to analysts, these kinds of comments highlight the disconnect between politicians like Johnson and the younger voters they desperately need to appeal to. Instead of framing his values in a way that seems steadfast but modern, Johnson's habit of leaning on tired, tone-deaf language only isolates him further from moderates and younger conservatives. Public figures aren't just judged by their ideas, but by how relatable or out of touch they seem, and Johnson seems to be leaning hard into the out of touch category. And the pattern doesn't stop there. Johnson has developed a bit of a reputation for turning minor controversies into full-on PR disasters. For example, when a reporter asked him about trans athletes participating in sports, he launched into a clunky explanation about protecting real competition. But instead of sticking to his argument, he drifted into odd generalizations about biology not being up for debate, and how our grandparents wouldn't have stood for this nonsense. The backlash wasn't just swift, it was gruesome. Critics pointed out that it wasn't his stance drawing so much fire, though that didn't help, but the way he framed it as if the modern world had gone off the rails and only he, a self-proclaimed guardian of tradition, could save it. It's not hard to see why these moments stick. Johnson's repeated fumbles aren't just tone deaf, they're alienating. Research shows that public figures making outdated comments risk losing support, not only from more progressive audiences, but even within their own base. As younger conservatives push the movement forward, figures like Johnson risk being seen as fossilized relics, clinging to an imagined past instead of offering solutions for the future. And to make matters worse, Johnson has a habit of doubling down on controversial statements, framing himself as a victim of cancel culture gone mad, rather than reflecting on why people find his words problematic in the first place. His critics say it's all part of a bigger problem. Whether it's terrible speeches, poorly thought out policies, or comments like these, Johnson struggles to avoid self-made disasters. His inability or unwillingness to adapt his messaging to a changing America keeps rebranding him as a chaotic, inconsistent leader. It's one thing to stand firm in your beliefs, but Johnson's messaging feels like he's reading out of a playbook that hasn't been updated in decades. And somehow, every time he tries to clarify or re-express his thoughts, it only gets worse. sports. Social issues may be his Achilles heel, but it's just one piece of the roller coaster that is the Mike Johnson experience. Mike Johnson isn't just having bad days, he's having a bad career at this point. From speeches that flop harder than a bad karaoke night to Elon Musk roasting his big ideas like marshmallows over a fire, Johnson has stumbled into a unique kind of brand, the chaotic politician incapable of sticking the landing. The endless gaffes are creating more memes than momentum, leaving even MAGA supporters to wonder when the punchlines stop and leadership begins. How many more mistakes will it take before his own base starts looking for a new face? That's the real question. Stay tuned. There's always another stumble.